Hello, hello. It's Michelle Wilson with Ignite Your Essence, and we are on the Los Angeles Tribune Network. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and also LinkedIn and on Roku. And today we have a very, very special show for you. We are going to be talking about Ignite Your Energy in 2022. And we have a phenomenal guest, Barbie Layton. And let's learn a little bit more about Barbie.
Barbara Layton is a sought after speaker, healer, author, coach, and international Best You speaker, going from the side stage to the main stage in 6 months based on fan feedback and 25 years of speaking engagements. Barbie lived on 3 continents and traveled the world extensively. Currently in Vision Lakhani's exclusive Mid-Valley Premium Coaching, regular Best You magazine contributor, she is helping others manifest their dreams with her unique intuitive healing abilities. Her clients' testimonials are incredible, and she works with CEOs and businesses alike. She uses her degree from the world-famous University of Santa Monica and has participated in their Cannes Film Festival 2007, winning documentary as a counselor to women serving life sentences in Coachella, California, on the Prison Project, based on Viktor Frankl's work. She will be featured in U.S. Today, plus featured in an upcoming documentary, and will be in an upcoming book, Women Gone Wild. Now our guest on Ignite Your Essence talk show, Barbie Layton. Welcome.
Welcome, Barbie. Oh, I am
Hello.
so thrilled to have you here with us, and I'm just
Yay.
honored. So, Barbie, let's go ahead and jump right in. I mean, you have been traveling the world, and you said you lived in 3 continents. I want to start there because I think that is phenomenal. And I want you to share with us, like, what have you learned being able to live in all of these different countries? Share a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's so nice to see you, Michelle. And I'm so excited to be here on the Los Angeles Tribune with the Ignite Your Essence. It's just absolutely fantastic. And I hope that I can fire up your energy and fire up the audience that's here too. So thank you for having me. And yes, it's kind of an interesting thing. My mom's originally from Germany, and my hometown is Malibu, California. And basically, being a California girl, there's kind of a different perspective in the sense of where it's very West Coast and very multicultural. But then when I was in high school, I ended up becoming an exchange student in Austria. So I lived there for a year. I didn't speak any German at all, and I wouldn't allow people to practice English on me. I made sure that I really, really immersed myself in the culture. And by the end of it, I actually, funny story, I was on a train coming back into Austria, and the guy was looking at passports, thought I was a spy because he said there was no way that my German was that good as an American citizen. So it was kind of like a weird, thing, but like kind of something from a movie. And then after I graduated from college, I just felt like I didn't want to do kind of like the regular business thing. So I ended up going to South Korea, and I ended up teaching English there for a year in an academy where I had kindergartners all the way to 10th graders from 12 noon until 9 p.m. Also did not speak any Korean at all and didn't really know a whole lot about the culture. But I think sometimes that's one of those things in the sense of where by living in different places and traveling, you get to see that people are all really technically the same and we all really want the same things. But by immersing yourself in those kind of cultures, you have to find the best parts of yourself to be able to activate that stuff, because you have to think fast. You have to be able to, see that you're having to translate everything through different languages, and through all those different things, you learn so much about yourself. And I know Doria Cordova stated that you kind of are your own personal experiment. You're the most important thing to be looking at how you're, responding to different things. And there are a lot of difficulties when you travel, and there's a lot of things that are very, very complicated. But then when you rise above it, and then you have this connection of where you're speaking the other language and people are connecting with you, it's the most amazing thing in the world. So to me, having the opportunity to have lived on 3 continents is just, to me, completely phenomenal. And I've been to over 35 countries and every state in the United States, all the Hawaiian Islands. I really, really love to travel because it just gives you an opportunity to really see the people for who they truly are, as opposed to what you read about in a magazine or a newspaper where they give you their opinion of other people.
Wow. Thank you so much. And I love what you said about, I love what you said, being an experiment, right? Being an experiment in the world of life. So tell me, our topic today is igniting your energy in 2022. So, from your world experiences, from all your travels, what do you do to ignite yourself? I mean, I love the energy that you have every time I see you, and just you are so personable with people. So, how do you ignite your energy when you like, especially from all your travels?
Well, I think a lot of times it's like, we have that kind of golden rule kind of concept, and then where we think about we treat others the way we want to be treated. But I have like the platinum rule of where I treat others the way that I think they want to be treated. So to me, I come at it from a perspective of it's like, how can I serve? How can I help? How can I give? How can I give an opportunity to be able to make their lives a little bit better? And when you show up in service and wanting to help other people, a smile is universal. There's no language that a smile is not universal. That's why having us have all those masks for the last year and a half, et cetera, it's been kind of sad because I love seeing people's smiles. I love it when their whole face lights up. And I heard someone say that, like, literally, there was a style consultant who said that literally people check out your hair, your eyes, and your mouth. That those are the three things that people look at. And we actually have the opportunity to see that from a friend or foe. I mean, throughout history, we've had to see, are they smiling or are they frowning? And so I think from there, by being a smiley person and it being kind of like more on the cheerful side, when people see that cheerfulness, they also want to interact with you because, I mean, in California, sometimes it's unfortunate, but you can be in a hallway with somebody by yourselves and you smile at them and they don't smile back. It's like, in California, sometimes it's like, you're just too cool to, to smile at somebody. And to me, I'm not too cool for anybody. I want to talk to everybody. It's like, I can do 5-star, I can do no star. I don't care. I will literally, it's like, literally, I can talk to anybody. And I think that's the most important things in the sense of where, you see these 5-star things, you see the no star things, but, sometimes when you go to a restaurant, I like the authentic food. When I go to a country, I want to taste the real thing, not the commercialized one. That's the chain one. I remember going to Atlanta, Georgia, and I, that's where Martin Luther King is from. And I asked the locals, like, where's the best food? I don't want to go and get ribs or anything else like that from some, like chain that I can get, like Chili's or something I can get anywhere else. No offense to them. But I ran into this gentleman in the underground and he said, oh, you got to go to the Rib Shack. And the Rib Shack was on Auburn Street, where Martin Luther King had grown up. And at that time, basically, took a taxi over there and it was like the most delicious ribs ever. And the family, knew Martin Luther King and their families. And it was this beautiful opportunity to interact. But then the rain came down and they said, you know what? I don't think you're going to be able to get, a taxi back to Peachtree Street. There's not going to be anybody coming by when there's storming. And the family actually picked up myself and my guests and drove us back to our hotel. So it's like being in those kind of opportunities where you allow the other person to be able to be gracious. And I know that's the Southern hospitality that they talk about it, but it's like, those are the kind of experiences where they're once in a lifetime experiences. And they change you because you see the humanity in other people and that other people want to serve in that same way. So if we're all walking around giving to each other and all serving each other at the highest level possible, it becomes the most amazing world because all we're doing is wanting to be able to spread that joy and love around. And to me, that's what just totally excites me and makes me happy because it's not about money and it's not about those things, but you literally find that on the reach around and on the flip side, you get everything that you need.
Wow, I love that you said it's just so simple as a smile. And we all can do that, right? We can smile and just say a hello. And I know one of your messages that you talk about a lot is gratitude. The
Yes.
message of gratitude. And I remember you shared with me a story about how when you're, people who are giving a service to you, how you treat them. And I love that story. If you could just share what you do, how you acknowledge people, when you're in a restaurant. I would love to hear more about that.
Well, I think that a lot of the people that I've talked to who I consider to be uber successful, a lot of them, when they're heart-centered people, they talk about the fact that, they might do a business deal with somebody, but if the person is nice to them back and forth, basically that's fine. But then if you are snappy to the waiter or you're rude to the busboy or the valet or whomever it is, et cetera, they won't do business with you at all. Like literally, they just say, if you don't treat people with kindness, because that's the real them, because it's
Right.
not the one that's trying to get something. And I know that, when I interviewed Naveen Jain, it was like the funniest story because I don't really like labels. I don't really like having, anything because we're all the same. Nobody's better or worse than anybody else. And what I love is the fact that when you're in a restaurant and if you interact with the waiter or the waitress and you say, how's your night going tonight? How you doing or whatever, it's like also the next thing you know, you find that the service just becomes so much more incredible. And they're just like, they want to come and please you in the sense. And then and then you also compensate them, with a really good tip. You're not stingy in that kind of stuff. You have that generosity of flow. And Naveen Jain said that a lot of times, because he's the CEO of his own companies, he doesn't have a salary. So he goes to these cocktail parties and he talks to people and they're like, oh, so what do you do? And he's like, I'm unemployable and I can't get a job. And all these people are like, all right, yeah, you want a drink? I'm going to go away. But then they find out who he is. And after that, they come back and they all kind of want to kiss him butt. And he's like, nope, you already revealed yourself as to who you truly are. So again, it's like, if you know that the people that are, cleaning your office or the people that are doing things for you, if you acknowledge them and thank them for the work that they do, nobody needs to be invisible. And even from that perspective of, even to me with food, during the pandemic, a lot of us have been, where we were in lockdown and you had to get food delivered and things like that. But every time the food comes to your table, the Native Americans say that 300 hands had to touch your food to bring it to your table. And so for me, whenever I make food or I cook things, etc., I put them into the oven and I just bless and I thank those people with gratitude for all those 300 people that gave me the opportunity to put those ingredients together in my stove to be able to cook that. And then I have people say like, oh my God, that was like the best lasagna that I ever had. And it's like, did you do anything different? And it's like, yeah, I put love and gratitude in it. And the love and gratitude is the secret sauce. Like that's the most important thing, that you put that in. And when you serve people, you serve them from the perspective of, I am so honored to be able to do that.
I love that, that you take the time to think about all the hands that touch our food and you bless them during that. And so that's anything that we do in life, right? In our businesses, right? We always think that we kind of arrive, but we didn't just arrive. It's all the people that we've connected with, the relationships, it's all that. And just being thankful and grateful for all those relationships, just as us as entrepreneurs. Now, I heard that you were recently nominated for the Tony Heiss Award. And that was back in, you were in Vegas at a special event with your friend, Keith Ferrazzi. And just tell us a little bit more about that nomination. I'm really super excited and so thankful and just honored to say, wow, it's about leadership. But tell us a little bit more about that nomination.
Thank you. So Tony Hsieh was the CEO of Zappos, and he literally touched people's lives in the way of where he brought out the superpower in all of his employees. And Keith Ferrazzi and they were basically chums at Harvard. And the Quincy Cafe was like the first thing that Tony had taken over. And he had this opportunity because that's their kind of cafeteria. And he took it over with this like kind of extensive kind of idea of doing a pizza oven and doing things that would make people happy. And so he started something called the Happiness Project. And he was definitely one of those people where we talk about service. He would do the coffee service for people. He'd be at his own boardrooms and things like that. And people said that, he would serve coffee to people. And people were like, why are you doing that? Why aren't you having somebody else do that? And he's like, because I like to serve people. It makes me happy. And I really, my only regret is the fact that I wish that I had met him in person, but alas, that was not to be because he passed away in 2019, I believe, 2020. But having his whole family there and all the different people with the people that were the winners, the nomination was based on innovation, the wow factor, scalability, and having the opportunity of basically being a heart-centered person that makes a difference. And so the people that ended up winning are international superstars that are creating these beautiful communities around the world. And Keith is definitely somebody that I consider him a mentor. His book, Leading Without Authority, is like one of the most amazing things because he talks about something called 5 packets of generosity, in the sense of where when you interact with people, you need to build a relationship and a rapport. And it needs to be about the fact that you're not doing any selling and it's not about money. It's literally, so for me, my whole thing is that I love to cheerlead people. And I love to say, dang, you're looking good. And boy, I like your purse. And wow, look at you go. And I'm so proud of you for this. And congratulations on that. And your book was awesome. But, to be able to talk to someone like Keith, who's I consider a mentor, be able to tell him that his book and his message literally changed my life and the way everything has kind of like transpired. It's such an honor to be able to stand in front of your mentor and be able to tell them that. And for someone to say, in an email, I appreciate you. But then you have a real life person in front of you that's saying like, what you wrote and you brought out into the world has helped me immensely. it's just such a beautiful thing. And that's really how my TV channel started. It wasn't even anything. It was on my radar. I know Michelle Caveda was talking about that too, about, and I'm not sure exactly how you got here with regards to being on, the interviewer, but it's the kind of thing too of where it's like, it's like when you open yourself up to your gifts and you open yourself to your true passion and what you're going to do, then ultimately it's like all these things fall into place. I call it like the universal connect the dots. And then the next thing you know, it's like your life is going in all these directions. And when you say yes to your inner guidance and your intuition, the next thing you know, you're in this completely different space with all these amazing people. And my TV channel was 100% just about wanting to honor my mentors. So my first guest was Naveen Jain. My second guest was Ken Honda, Rachel Pringle. It's like I have all these different people that I wanted to interview them, but from a perspective of more of a fireside chat of like honoring them for what they've accomplished. And Vishen Lakhiani from Mind Valley has been my role model in regards to interviewing, because I think it's really important to give credit to all those people that brought you forward, all these people whose books you read, their courses you took, et cetera, et cetera. Like you said, nobody's an overnight sensation. We didn't get here by ourselves. We literally had these other, on the shoulders of giants that we were able to pass on and continue going with that. And that's the part to me of where it's like, when we honor other people, I mean, I love Ken Honda and his generosity and giving. His philosophy is like so in sync and in alignment with my philosophy. And then Dame Doria's is in that same philosophy. And then Shmika's is in that same philosophy. And then yours. And then Ava Manuel. And then, and so on and so forth. And it becomes this explosion of, like, I call them Barbie bubbles. They're just like explosion of all this love juice that's just going all over the world in such a beautiful way, but it's completely indiscriminate. And you don't know where it's going to land. But then you get these amazing emails or phone calls, or do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And it's like, yes, yes, and yes. And thank you. And thank you. And arigato. And thank you. And then thank you some more.
Arigato. And I love the Barbie bubble. And one thing I love about you, Barbie, is I've watched you on social media, how you always edify other people. And I think that's truly amazing. And that's so in alignment with You Are Amazing, which is your show that you called, and it was just about your mentors. And that's how we learn, right? We learn from others, like you said, standing on the giants of others. And I just think what you're doing is truly amazing. So I just kind of want to pivot a little bit, because I also know that you were nominated for like the Top Women Conscious Leaders Award. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I remember we were talking about it. Couldn't write fast enough, but I thought that was pretty phenomenal. That, like, the woman to watch out for in 2022. So share a little bit more about that.
I mean, I'm literally, this whole thing about saying yes to the universe is like really, really blown up in a way where you're like, wow, 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 wow. And so, yes, I will be in a feature in USA Today that'll be coming out in January of the 10 top conscious leader women owners to watch in 2022. And Meghan Markle is going to be the celebrity face on that list. And I feel so honored and blessed to be a part of that, because that really, really is what I stand for. The heart-centered conscious entrepreneur to me is the most important thing. Anybody, and Dame Doria talks about this, and a lot of other people do too. There are lots of miserable billionaires. There's lots of people that's where they, they felt like they won at the game of life, and they have all the toys and all the things they want, but it's an empty existence. And the most important thing is that when you are heart centered and you're broadcasting that frequency out, that is that energy, you're broadcasting that frequency of heart-centered conscious entrepreneurship, all of a sudden the next thing you know, you magnetize these amazing other people, and they're all resonating at the same space. And then we all recognize each other, and then we also edify each other. And that's something of where in the last year and a half, it's like, I helped co-found three businesses with business partners that I have. And one of them is called Thrival Flow. And it's about these whole experiments that I've done for the last 20 plus years with different groups of people, of where I'm trying to help mentor them. And I did different techniques with different ones. And the techniques that I use to be able to edify, my most important thing is that when I have my mentees look at me and they have these googly eyes, because they've just fallen in love with themselves. They just saw themselves for the first time reflected in my looking at them. Because I think it's like, we're so programmed for the negative, and that's actually the default of the human, is to be negative. Us flipping over to the positive, it's actually not the normal thing in the human psyche. So we have to really, really cultivate that. And that needs to be a part of your practice. But it's still that kind of thing of where I think people got to a point of where they stopped giving compliments to people because people don't want someone to get a big head, or don't get too full of yourself, and, oh, you think you're all that, and all these like negative connotations. But to me, it's like, if I'm thinking it, and if I'm in an elevator and I see a cute bag, I'm going to say, that's a really cute bag. That person might have had the worst day of their lives, and that compliment may just trigger something else that shifts them into an entire different space. So if you're thinking it and it's a positive thing, why not say it? Share it.
Think it,
Like, share it
yeah,
with people.
think it and share it. I love it. And so tell me a little bit more about, you said the heart-centered leader, or who's conscious. So can you give us maybe some tips of how you have developed as a conscious leader? I mean, I know that you talked about heart, you're talking about gratitude, just saying thank you, or just even saying something positive. But is there something that you do on a regular to help you remind yourself of, just being that conscious leader?
Yes, I have two words that I like to use, and that is alignment and congruency.
Mm.
I've learned from a lot of top people from the last 2 years. I have literally been what I call 3-screening it on 2 iPads and the thing, and working jobs and doing all this kind of stuff, because I felt this urgency to be able to learn from the best. And so it's like, Oprah says, if you want to, uplift yourself, hang around with people that you would like to aspire to be in that state. So that's something of work to me. I've literally, done seminar after seminar of watching different people do different things. And some people are perfect examples of what not to do, and some people are perfect examples of what to do. And you can learn both of those things without having any judgment about that, of like, note to self, this is what I want to do, or note to self, this is not what I want to do. If you're talking about conscious, heart-centered entrepreneurship, but all it is down at the bottom line is the cash and it's the money, you're not going to be somebody that I'm really going to want to have a long-term relationship with business-wise. It has to be, and I know Shimiko Cole talks about this, it needs to be a win-win-win for all parties involved. If there are any losers or anyone that's at a disadvantage, that's not a good deal for you, and you shouldn't be involved in that. So that's a super important thing, in the sense of where I believe in integrity. You need to mean what you say and say what you mean. You can't be waffling back and forth. And I also like the Mayberry rules, of where you need to do all that you've agreed to do, and you need to make sure that you do not encroach upon others and their property. Those to me are two, what I call sacred rules, that I like to adhere to, because there's a lot of times where, your promise with certain people means nothing. Oh, let's do lunch, that Hollywood kiss, whatever. It's like, yeah, okay. But I want to have it in the sense of where people know that my word is my bond. It's going back to those universal values of honesty, loyalty, kindness, and trust, that that person is going to have your back. Because that, to me, in this world, there's a lot of disposable things and a lot of things that are very casual, and I don't play like that. To me, it's really, really important to be in alignment and incongruent. So if I'm meaning what I'm saying and saying what I'm meaning, then that I'm in complete alignment with what I'm putting out as a person. And so therefore, that's a really, really important thing. And yes, I like to play with hair. This isn't my hair, and I like to play with fashion, with lashes and things like that. But it's something that, to me, it's allowing me to try on different energy to see what resonates with me and what doesn't. And sometimes I want to be a blonde, and sometimes I want to have, a black French bob, and sometimes I want to do something different. But it's all about the fact that I'm playing with the energy. To me, you have to be in childlike wonder and suspend disbelief, because a lot of the stuff that's happening to me right now, if I had talked to my old self 2 years ago, would have been like, really? Okay, yeah, that sounds a little cuckoo. But the bottom line is that by opening yourself up to more, and knowing that this is an unlimited universe where there is and you step into that mindset of abundance. The abundance mindset is one of those things that literally starts to roll, and it's almost like it catches that momentum to the point of where it's like, the manifesting now is almost like I literally feel sometimes like I can flick my finger and it's just boom, it just happens. But it's a muscle. It's something that you have to practice every single day, and giving up on the most important promises that you make are the ones you make to yourself. They really are. You have to make those promises to yourself and keep them. I'm still a work in progress. I'm not perfect, and I've never tried to pretend like I'm perfect. I'm not asking people to try to be me or emulate me or etc. My whole goal is that I want other people to fall in love with themselves, because they're seeing my journey of falling in love with myself. And then from then, we all give each other permission to be exactly who we need to be and find our own unique gifts. And that is the biggest, most beautiful gift you can give to the world, is finding out who you are and what your gifts are, and then sharing it from your heart.
Wow, you said so much, so powerful. And I want to go back to alignment and congruency, right? And I believe that alignment and congruency is because you are very in tune to what your core values are, your universal values. And so that you have the clarity with those values, then you're able to emulate, you're just able to be. And I love, like you said, you can still be childlike, right? You can still be playful. That's part of you. And I love that because we're talking about energy, right? How do we ignite your energy in 2022? And it sounds like you just love yourself, you know yourself, and then you have made commitments to yourself to show up in a certain way. It sounds like to me. So hopefully I'm on the right path as far as that is concerned.
Yes.
So I would like to just kind of go through this journey with you a little bit more. Now, I know that I was reading that you did like 60, I don't want to say
Quests.
classes, but with via Fashion Connie's, right? And I
Yeah.
really thought like that is like going to college, right? All those classes. And so it sounds like you worked harder on yourself and this was like only in the last couple of years, right? That you took all these courses and so forth like that. So tell me, and you kind of just mentioned it, you said you had the monitors here and you were doing all this. Was it something that you were seeking at the time that you just poured yourself into it, or what was it that ignited you to just, hey, I want to go all in? Was it that you were looking to transform yourself, or what were you seeking at that point in time?
So for me, 2016, I generally focus on the positive because there's been so much negative. And I've had a really tough life in a lot of different places. Being very, what I call terminally unique, hasn't always been the best thing because people can't put you in a box and they don't really know what to do with you. And I'm a very driven person of where I'm always looking for my own personal best. But we all know that when we work with other people who are not giving their personal best, they don't like to be outshined, or they don't like to have it of where, they'd rather you kind of go away so that everybody can kind of keep the status quo. And for me, it's like I've always thought that my clients are the most important people that I'm working for. I'm not competing with other people. I don't believe in that competition in that sense. And so to me, I think that, I had a chronic illness that, kind of landlocked me in 2016. And from there, it's like, I had my own kind of pandemic where it's like, I'm doing all this traveling and all this exciting stuff. And the next thing you know, it's like, now I'm landlocked and I'm not able to really do a whole lot of stuff because this illness kind of stopped me in my tracks. And so I realized, I had those dark nights of this whole moments where I said, I can't live like this for the rest of my life. I need to focus on being of service and finding my true purpose. I really need some help. I will do whatever I'm told to do to be able to make that transition. And then in 2019, I'd already been a kind of a member of Mindvalley for a few years, but it had this brand new launch. In 2019, I found Vishen Lakhiani and Kristen Marie Sheldon and a lot of different things of where they started focusing on this changing and this transformation. And I just kept getting these intuitive hits that 2020 was going to be a big year. It was going to be a big change. We all know that that's basically kind of an understatement. I mean, literally, it's like, it was like, boom. And the last event that I went to was Mindvalley Live in February of 2020. And it was such a beautiful thing to, spend time in person with Vishen Lakhiani and Keith Ferrazzi, and Lisa Nichols was there. And it was just like, it was a fantastic weekend. But then everything went down on lockdown. So I realized, and this is something Naveen Jain talks about, he says, you have to figure out what you're willing to die for. And I know that sounds really, really extreme, but his philosophy is that we go through, we have so many people on this earth who are just going through life, tiptoeing and having this mild, meek life, just waiting to die. And the bottom line is the fact that, if you only have this life in this moment, it's like, what are you going to do with it? And so having these quests that Vishen kept adding more and more content and more content, before it was like, I was growing alongside him and all the different people. And then he offered premium coaching, which was so amazing because it was in the moment of all the things he was learning at the same time, with having been shut down with the pandemic as well. And then we all basically made this commitment to each other that it's like the Kentucky Derby, and we're all thoroughbred racehorses ready to go, but there's no brakes and there's no limit to how fast you can fly on that track. You do as fast as you want to go, and I will go as fast as I can go, and let's encourage each other as we're going. And to me, that's like the elixir of champions. That's the opportunity of where it's like you're with these amazing other people who literally all have the same goal to be able to be the very best version of themselves in every moment, in every possible way. and lots of bumps in the road and a lot of things that didn't necessarily work out. But by the same token, I have people that I know are ride or die people for the rest of my life. And then, bringing all these other beautiful people into my orbit too. We're all co-creating and co-collaborating. And it's like, it's the most amazing, juicy thing, but it takes that really, really concerted effort to decide, do I want to be in this mediocrity? Because I don't know what it is, but somehow in our society, people kind of think you hit 40 and like your life's over. It's a wrap. It's a static. Yep. You're a mom, you're a dad, you're this, you're that. This is your job. You just keep going, et cetera, et cetera. But you don't have to stop. I mean, I'm in my early 50s and it's like, I'm not a spring chicken, but it's like, so what? And the people that I know that are so amazing, like in the Los Angeles Tribune, and we've got, Dennis Waitley at like 89, and you've got Diana Wentworth. She just turned, I think, 81, or she's turning 81 in March. And it's like, these people are writing books and courses and they're doing this stuff and they're doing this traveling and all this kind of stuff. They don't have to do anything. They're independently wealthy. They have everything they need. Tame Doria is 74. It's like, those are the kind of people, to me, I look at them and I think to myself, they took massive action, but they always stayed true to their core values, as you were talking about. It's literally about being in the moment and being in the flow, and then literally magnetizing all of these resources and people who are there to be able to support your beautiful dream and your mission and your purpose. And when it's not about you and it's not about your ego, you can't lose, because it's like almost like, you're in the ocean and it's like the tide just will pull you, like in Malibu, I used to love body surfing. The most amazing thing was when you catch that wave in that exact second, and that wave just literally takes you all the way to the shore. And you just feel so powerful because you just literally, you rode that crest. You were completely in the flow. And in that moment, it's like, you're just totally, it's almost a sense of invincibility, because you're like electric, you're on fire. You are the universal essence of the universe.
Wow. And I want to talk about co-creating, but first, we have here at Ignite You, or Your Essence, we've been co-creating with the Los Angeles Tribune. So I would like to go ahead and share a little clip from them, and then we're going to come back because I want to go ahead and dig a little deeper. So take it away.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We've earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
So we're back, and we were talking, I love what you were talking about, co-creating and the magnitude and the just the attraction that you are going through. And I think that sounds like the energy, and you talked about, I would never have thought that you were in your early 50s. You're looking amazing. You are amazing. And what I found, like, all the experiences that I've gone through life, I'm realizing it wasn't for me. Like you said earlier, it's not about me. It's not about us. It's really going back and the lessons that we've learned. And I think Dennis Waitley said it, in the tour, it's about the wisdom. And now we get to share wisdom with others. So through your journeys, I'd like you to share some wisdom with us. If you can give us a few golden nuggets that you've learned, like, through the Mid-Valley. You said quests. So you went through 60 quests, right? And then you traveled, and then your experience, your health experience, all that. Is there a line or a thread that you've noticed or learned through your journey?
So one thing that was basically tied to the illness part, and luckily I would say that, it's more than 50% in remission. So it's like something of where, looking for those answers. I think that the most powerful people that I've known, and the ones that are really the true heart-centered people, are the ones who've been beautifully broken open by life in a lot of ways. It's like, I don't know anybody who's like super successful who hasn't gone through a lot of things in their lives that allowed them to be able to come to that moment. And so when I was dealing with the worst part of the illness, there were a lot of times when I did not feel well. And, I'm paying for my own bills. So I need to get up and I need to get out of bed. I need to go to work. So I just thought, okay, I need to find another way to be able to manage this. And so what I did is I used fashion as therapy. And I know that sounds kind of funny, but what it was that I literally decided that if I am going to dress on a Tuesday and go around Orange County in California, I'm going to go on Tuesday and I'm going to dress to the nines and I'm going to literally, look fly and look as good as I possibly can. I'm presenting as a 9 or a 10, but my feeling, my body aches and things like that are at like a 2 or a 3. It ended up being almost like a math where you were like a 6 or a 7 and I could make it through the day. So that was something of where I started to experiment with that from a different perspective. But what I found was that by showing up like that, people responded to me completely differently. So going to Costco, I mean, you go to Costco, there's like the cash register people and you can't find anybody else, right? And it's like a whole football field to go to the back to go find the eggs and stuff like that. So, there's no, like, it's not Nordstrom with personal shoppers. And so I would present, but I would literally just be, decked out on a Tuesday, going up in the Tuesday with the club. And it's like, just kind of coming in with, like I'm going to Costco. But because I presented in a certain way, people would respond to the sense of where I would have people ended up being my personal shoppers. So can I help you find anything else? Can I help you find this? Oh, you like the Italian sparkling water? Oh, I like that one too. Well, have you tried this? Can I help you with this? Can I help you with that? And it's like I'm getting a tour of Costco from the employee who wants to assist me for whatever reason. And I didn't ask for it. But it's like it ends up having these opportunities of where I call those VIP global access moments of where it's just like this random stuff of where like the world ends up becoming like your oyster because you've shown up in a certain kind of a frequency and people are responding to it. They don't quite know what it is. I mean, sometimes if people are like, oh, you're pretty, or I like your hair, or you like this, whatever. A lot of times they're not reacting to you personally. They're reacting to the energetic frequency that you have that's around you at all times. And the people who are really true manifestors, they're expanded out about 20 to 30 feet because when they come into a room, and you notice them because they're like, ooh, who is that? And so you magnetize these beautiful people to you. And so, I mean, it was like having an opportunity where it's like in Boston, I was on a trip and Fenway Park happened to be closed down because there was people getting married on the on the field. So instead they're like, are you okay with the VIP backstage access where you get to go through all the owners' boxes and you can go through this and go to the Green Monster and so on and so forth? And you're like, well, yes, of course I am. Thank you. So that thing that would look like a bummer to some people that they didn't get the regular tour, you get that VIP access and you have the opportunity to be able to go into different spaces. And on that Boston trip, it's like got to sit at the Parker Hotel at the table where John F. Kennedy, proposed to Jacqueline Bouvier. I mean, it's like, just these like totally like crazy experiences where you're like, oh my God, it's so amazing because you didn't ask for it. You didn't tell anybody. You weren't slipping $100 bills to the maitre d'. You weren't trying to do anything other than just showing up as your beautiful, shiny self. And if you do that, and I think one thing was a huge aha moment for me, and I talked about this in the Best You Expo, is that my mom got, the platinum Amex card. And once she got the platinum Amex card, it ended up being of where the next thing you know, now you're in these private VIP lounges in the airport. Well, if you're not a person that knows anything about those, you don't even know that they exist. It's almost like being in an entirely different world. They don't have any entrance point places. They don't have they don't have a sign. You have to go up to the elevator. You have to go to this terminal and figure it out and that kind of stuff. It's almost like there's this whole other world that's going on simultaneously to what you think is the normal world. But then all these doors and opportunities open that didn't open before because now you're open to them. So to me, I think that access is one of the most important things because once you open yourself up to those things, and then I found out that Costco has a $25,000 private jet membership that you pay every year. It's like, who knew Costco had private jet membership? But it's like, there's certain people where it's like you become where you're in the know of certain things. And then because you're completely grateful for these opportunity, you're not a snob about it. You're not like, oh, I'm going to go in my private jet or I'm going to do this. It's like, hey, I had a private jet and, you want to come along with me? And, hey, can I drop you off in wherever country you're going to or whatever? I mean, I heard Dame Doria talk about that with Tony Robbins. Like, she gave him his first plane ride with his whole team. And it's like, those are like the coolest stories, because it's like, I mean, in some places they call it the hookup, but it's like, it's just because of who you are that then all of a sudden all these doors open. And it's like, where in your life are doors closed, and where in your life can you open yourself up to the idea of what would it take for every door that I need to have opened up for me to open up with grace and ease in the most beautiful, elegant way to allow you to live your beautiful, most amazing purpose. I mean, to me, that is like, it's like secrets of the universe.
Wow. And we're talking about ignite your energy, right? And it sounds like even when you were at your lowest moment, when you weren't feeling well, it was your darkest moment, but you were able to really tap the access for you was to show up in fashion, right? And then that really not only transformed your life, but the energy around you. And I love that you said you got VIP treatment in Costco, right? Whoever would have thought something like that? And it's just you showing up just light, and it was actually a choice and a decision that you made. So it started with that choice and decision, right? That, hey, I'm not going to let this beat me. And you did it through fashion, and then you were attracting the most amazing people. So I love that. And we think people give us access. No, we create our access, right? You created the access within you, and you looked at the power with you and the energy with you. And we're having so many great comments, and we may have some questions coming up, but we do have one big question that we love to ask our guest, and it's from Buck Minister Fuller. And we're going to go ahead and bring that up, what the big question is. And I would love for you to answer this. How do we make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation with illogical damage or disadvantage to anyone? Now, I know that's a mouthful, but I would love to hear from you. How do you, really about 100% of the humanity?
I think, honestly, it would be very similar to Ken Honda's philosophy of generosity and giving. If every single person was focused on giving to other people as opposed to taking, and that would be the most amazing thing. I know Ken has this thing, he calls it a gift for, of like, where you compete with people to see who can give more stuff. And one of the things I was so attracted to his message by was the fact that, he and his other millionaire friends, they get together with the 28,000 people that are in Japan at his salon. And they literally have this, like, it's $8.88 in which is a Japanese fortuitous number. And they literally take that 28,000 people times $8.88, and they have a pool of money every single month. They just decide who they're going to gift it to. And they're not asking for a repayment back. They're not asking for anything. And that's the most beautiful thing, in the sense of where when you see that the law of attraction is not quid pro quo. It's not, I have an orange, I will give you $1 for the orange, and we make this direct exchange. There's nothing wrong with that. But by the same token, if you're giving for the sake of giving, then bottom line is that in the law of attraction, it's going to get you someplace else in the ethers of the universal energy that you're putting out. So what you need is going to come to you because of what you need. And one thing that was really important to me with my TV channel is that I did not ask anyone to pay to be guests on my show. I did not ask anybody to do any of that kind of stuff. I had sponsors and people that, were at some angel donors, but I didn't have it where I didn't want it to be about money. And something that I really feel is important, and it's something I've put out, especially on my channel, is the kindness revolution. If we can all do random acts of kindness, not necessarily for recognition. I mean, on a GoFundMe page, if someone gives a big donation, they can, oh, look at me, I did a donation. It doesn't need to be something of where anybody needs to know anything about it. But just having that opportunity, if we treat people with kindness, even like in the pandemic, it's like I've had my groceries delivered because of everything that's gone on. But I always have, like, a candy bar or, a bag of nuts, or I have something else. And it's always like, these people are from these DoorDash and Uber Eats or whatever. It's like they're working really, really hard. And so I always basically have a treat for them at the door and just say, here. And it's like, like those, I bought a box of those Bueno Kinder chocolates from Costco, and I had a whole box of those. And it's like, the people, when they, a lot of them said they just scurry off, and I'm like, wait. And then they'll come back and I'll say, here, I wanted to give this to you. And they're like, oh my God, that's like my favorite candy bar. And oh, that's delicious. And oh, I'll eat one, I'll share with my kid or whatever. It's just like, it's just literally brightening people's day with your resources and what you have. So whatever you have, share it with others. My mantra is that the more I have, the more I can give. And the more that I have, the more I can share. The more that I have, the more that I can share. And so it's like, if we literally think about it, not about like, I'm going to get my giant pot and I'm going to hold it all to myself. It's instead, okay, now that I'm amassing all these beautiful things, how can I find different people or things or incidences or whatever else that I can share it with? And my ultimate goal is that in the next 5 years, I want to be considered a professional wish granter. I just want to be able to see something on the news that just says, bloop, yep, I can help, I can write a check and just send it off anonymously or whatever. And I know that, that's something of where I saw an advertisement about world hunger, and it's not something that's necessarily on my platform, but also, they were saying that during the pandemic, a lot of people, due to tourism and other things and import exports, people are hungry in a lot of countries that they've relied on tourism for. And so I thought, I was asking intuitively, I just said, how would I be able to assist on that? And then the next day, my business partner had somebody from Europe that was talking about this, it's called targetaid.org, and it's amazing of where it helps to be able to do like the iTunes for charity. And one of the boxes was World Hunger. And I set up a call this week to be able to have, amazing people to find ways to be able to funnel money through their charities where it doesn't cost them anything at all. And it's like, that's an opportunity where I could be of service. I don't benefit from it financially, but it's like literally, oh, the problem is world hunger. Okay, well, what can I do about this? Boom, 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 boom. Within a week, literally, I had this call, and it's like, I'm being told that that's a possible $1 billion call of all these people having opportunities for their charities to be funded. And it's just like, that to me is like so fun. And I know Shemeka and I have this conversation, but it's kind of like the Eddie Murphy thing that makes me happy, where I do the Hercules. It just like fires me up and gets me so excited, because it's me being able to have an impact of where I can pull these amazing people together, and then they go off and do everything that they need to do for themselves. But it's not about money. That is the most important thing that we all need to get. And that answers to me that question. When you make it about service and about your heart, and it's not all about money, the money will come when you do all those other things.
Wow, that is phenomenal. And now I know why, because I know even Shemeka put on there, the master of manifesting. It's because your philosophy, the more you have, the more you can give, right? And you are continually giving. And I love all the examples you gave, just to the DoorDash person. I mean, just everyday people that you are giving to. And it just takes a moment, that tiny act of kindness. And I think that is so phenomenal. And then, you just ask the universe, I want to, cure, help with world hunger. And look, it showed up for you. So it's also asking those questions, right? Like, how can I? And then also just giving those little acts of kindness. So it sounds like, you have all these, I won't say practices, it's just who you are, but I'm sure it's a practice that you started off with. And I think it's totally, totally amazing. Now, there's one other thing I want to kind of dig deep a little bit, because we have going across the screen, the love event. And, throughout today, I've been hearing about, just heart-centered, transformational, just giving kindness. So, it's all about love. That's what it sounds like. But tell us a little bit more about your event coming up.
So that's going to be February 4th through the 6th in Miami at the Hilton Blue Lagoon, which I'm really excited about, because it's kind of the first live event since all this kind of stuff shut down. And luckily it's in Florida, so it's still on and popping, which I'm really happy about. And it's basically, it's the Best You, Bernardo Moya and David Fagan's brainchild, to come together to talk about consciousness, kindness, and caring. So there'll be a lot of different panels of different NGOs, different charities, different people that will be talking about how we show up in those spaces of to be a caring person, to be kind, and to be in the highest frequency or consciousness that you can be. So we've got people like Marissa Peer and Ken Honda and Diana Wentworth, and Dame Doria Cordova is going to be there, and Sid McNary and Isabel and David Fagan. I mean, it's a star-studded, amazing event. They're going to have a gala on Saturday night, which will have an award ceremony for humanitarian awards and other things like that. And so this will be an inaugural event, Masajati as well. This will be an inaugural event that's going to be happening every single year, and ultimately having the opportunity to be involved with this. Wyland is also going to be there, who does the Marine Conservancy. He does all the famous dolphin and whale pictures that are murals around the world. Dr. John DeMartini. I mean, it's just literally, the list goes on. But having an opportunity for a lot of us kind of like, that would be considered thought leaders, to come together and have conversations about how we can help out in different places. Because I really do subscribe to the concept of the that you give a man a fish and then you feed him for a day, and you teach a man how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. It's like I really, really like that concept, in the sense of where it's like, I think when someone just gets a handout or something else, it's like, I know a lot of rich kids who are trust fund babies, and they don't really appreciate that they live in a $5 million house or whatever else, because it was given to them. But the people that have earned it, and they've really, really put the blood, sweat, and tears on that. I mean, in college, I remember being where you'd go through the Taco Bell drive-through, and you and your girlfriends would just be like, "Ooh, we found 20 cents underneath the couch, and we get sour cream on our bean burrito today," which is like on the dollar menu. It's like, going through those struggles is honestly a good thing, because then when you get to a point of where abundance is in this flow state of where you have what you need in any given moment, you can really appreciate it. Because I didn't grow up rich in any way, shape, or form, and I'm not at the place yet of where abundance is not an issue to think about. But by the same token, it's from the perspective of, how can I support all the things that I'm doing so that then I can help to be able to support other people? That I think is super important. And one story that I think is really I just love the story, and it's that whole, and it makes me teary eyed, but it's like, I love the starfish story. I love the one about the man that sees the starfish. There are all these dead starfish that are coming up, they're coming up on the beach, and this little boy is tossing all these starfish back into the ocean. And the old man looks at him and says, "Why are you doing that? There's so many of them, they're all going to die." And he says, "It matters to this one. It matters to this one." And if we think about it, from every person that we interact with, we're dealing with a soul, a living being that has feelings. And if we're not, I think a lot of times social media can be really cool to people. And a lot of it's about, kind of this concept of this construct of putting this, like, brave face forward, like everything's perfect. And for a lot of people, it's not. And so instead, I think that it's really, really important that we get real, and we're transparent, and we're authentic with each other. And then that way you find the other people that resonate at that frequency. Because I don't do fake. I don't hang out with fake. I don't want to be around fake, other than my fake hair. There's nothing, I don't do fake. Just something that for me, it's almost like I'm allergic to it, if I have to say.
I love that story, and that's one of my favorite stories. But just think, if we're all throwing in one starfish, then we can save the starfish, right? If we all take a part and just throw one back in. So I really love that story, and thank you for just being so authentic with that. And I just want to kind of check in with our audience just to see if there's any questions. I know we've had some many great, amazing comments like Sandra. She says authentic connection. So that really resonated with Sandra. We also had, let's see who else we have coming up. I love what Michelle Cueto says. LOL, I can so relate. We must remember when times were challenging to relate to others. I lived on 99-cent bean burritos. Same here. I've lived on it for dinner while in school. So, I mean, there's times and that's what it is about, relating to individuals, right? That, we, like I said, we're all work in process. We're all on a journey. And I love that, that you can be so relatable, and it's all goes back to that one act of kindness. And let's see if there's anyone else has any questions out there. If not, I would like to turn it over to you, Barbie. And just, is there anything else that you would like to share with us that, that's burning in your heart, that you would like us to know about you, or any of your upcoming events because you're doing some amazing things. I know you're working with some amazing partners and mentors. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we close out?
Well, I know there's a lot of things to absolutely stay tuned for in 2022. I know that this year is going to be quite an epic launch for a lot of things, but I think I'd really like to leave the audience with a story. I like to be a storyteller. It's something I think that really, really helps us to connect with each other. And that's the story of the emperor moth. And the emperor moth is one of the most beautiful creatures that you can see if you Google it. They're absolutely gorgeous. But some scientists decided that they thought, it goes through this incredibly painful chrysalis process where it's all kind of looks like it's really, really struggling, and it's a really painful thing. And so these scientists thought, you know what, let's try to see whether or not we can make this a little bit easier for the emperor moth to be able to come out. And what they did is they did like a little slice with a knife on the side of it to be able to allow it to come out a little bit more gently. But what ended up happening is that it came out deformed, because it was that process of the chrysalis and the transformation and the metamorphosis that it goes through that it absolutely has to have. And because of all the trials and tribulations, I would say in a lot of ways, my life is from tragedy to triumph. I've had 3 near-death experiences. I mean, bullying, a lot of really, really painful things in my past. But by the same token, it's the from tragedy to triumph. Don't stay in your victim Olympics. Don't stay in the pain. Stay in the space of where you're trying to find something better. And every single day, if you reach for one little tiny thing that can be able to inspire you or others or connect you in a different way, if you continuously try to be the best version of yourself, all of a sudden you'll find yourself in that metamorphosis. And the next thing you know, you won't even resemble the person that you were before, because taking that massive action and believing in yourself and that you're worth it is one of the most important things that you can do. And so I just really want the audience to know that. I'm looking at you directly. Believe in yourself. Love yourself. Become the VIP of your own life. It's your reality show, nobody else's reality show. And if you live it the best way that you can, be of service, be kind to other people, and you will see your life transform before your eyes. And I wish that for you.
I love that wish. And I do have one question before we close out from Michelle Quevedo. She says, Barbie, how do you keep your energy consistently and authentically high when surrounded with so many people and their different energies?
That is a great question. Thank you for that. And my mentor, Christy Marie Sheldon, taught people in her classes that you set a timer on your watch or on your phone, and every hour on the hour, she has something called ABC. Always be connected. So whatever your light source is, whether you pray, whether or not you are a meditator, whether or not you're in that space, etc., check in with your own inner guidance, connect yourself to the light, source energy, whatever you want to call it. Connect yourself up to the light, hour on the hour to the point of where it gets completely normal, and that becomes your way of being. And also, in addition to that, you also need to clear off any negative energies that come at you as well. So that's an important thing of where when you're brushing your teeth, you can just imagine any energetic cords that are connected to you from anybody that was a low vibration. Brush your teeth and just imagine, anywhere and everywhere that there are any cords that don't reside at my frequency, clear and transmute. You just literally just allow them, imagine them being cut off of you every single day. And then that's what I call spiritual hygiene. It helps you to stay in a high vibration from that perspective, because it's absolutely true. We do have people that, right now people could be sending, psychic daggers at me, but it's like, by the same token, clear and transmute, sending it back to people. It's like, that's their deal, not mine. Other people's opinion of me technically is none of my business. That's like one of my favorite quotes. So that's something of where, stay in your own vibe and really, really reflect who you are.
I love that. The spiritual cleansing, kind of just remind yourself, we do all the physical things, like we brush our teeth, we take the shower, we do all the physical things, but it's the spiritual things. Take that same practice spiritually. And I just want to touch, just going back, I love the story because I asked you the question from Michelle, but I love that story about, the transformation. And, sometimes I know for me, I love helping people, but to the point where I want to do it for them. And that's not good. Like you're saying, we have to go through our challenges and adversity to really appreciate the other side. So I really love that story that you shared with us, that there's no bypassing, we all hurt. We can, we all have pain, and we can relate to people and be there and hold them space. But I love what you were saying, that, they still have to go through that, because that's how you become the better version of you. Right. So I just want to say you are so amazing, Barbie. I loved our conversation today. It was truly amazing. And I just really, hate to say goodbye. And I just want to see if there's any more comments out there or any more questions before we wrap up the show for today.
Well, I want to acknowledge you really quick, Michelle,
Sure.
as well. And that's something where I know you have the mompreneur that you do. And I think that especially in the arena of parenting, I know I do intuitive healing clearings with people. And I know a lot of times it's very difficult, because they say that when you have a child, it's like wearing your heart out in the world, because they're out there doing all sorts of different things. And, people want their kids to be perfect, or, whatever their kind of ideas are with that. But it's still allowing the children to have their own experiences. One of the most beautiful things you can gift them as a parent. But by the same token, having those consistent boundaries and letting them know that this is the sandbox, and, you don't cross outside of the sandbox, but then they have the freedom to be able to play within those four corners that you've made as a parent. That's been something where I see it as a successful recipe for a lot of parents, because it gives the child the opportunity to kind of stretch out their their wings, but by the same token, that consistency is oftentimes something that they crave. So I really want to acknowledge you for the mompreneur stuff that you do. And I know that in those communities, sometimes it's really tough when, kids are going kind of astray and off the beaten path of what you would like them to be doing. So I really want to honor you for that.
Thank you for acknowledging that. And it is difficult because as parents, especially as moms, we want to help them and do that, but we do got to let them spread their wings. But at the same time, as you said, those boundaries, because we still live in a society and we still want to respect and honor, right? So how do you give children their individuality that they can express themselves, but still honor, right, others? So I love that. Thank you for sharing with us that. And so Barbie, thank you so much with your grace, your beauty. And I'm not just talking about your outer beauty, your inner beauty, and just your authenticity. And just like I said, just loving yourself. I can see that you have definitely, I always say you've done the work and you're continuing doing the work, but also, being a service to others and allowing them to reflect. You get to reflect. We can look at you and we can have that reflection that, hey, we are amazing. So with that, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And I just want to say it was an amazing show. Thank you, Barbie Layton, for just joining us today. And just want to remind you that you can find us on all the social media platforms. We are on Facebook. We have the Los Angeles Times, and then we also have Ignite Your Essence. We're also on Instagram and LinkedIn, and we also have a community, and we also have the Clubhouse. So we just like you to join us to stay connected. And then next week, we have two shows. We have a Wednesday show at 5 p.m. with Michelle Cavedo. And then on Thursdays, 11 a.m. with Michelle Wilson. So with that, thank you for joining us today. And just remember, we're here to help you ignite your essence.
Woohoo! Yes, thank you.